So this is a private session at Somrak's gym, Kamsing, and this is his head trainer, Duuglas-Ittu. It was kind of just an accident that we ended up training with him. We were looking for Somrak, but he wasn't there. He's not always at the gym. He doesn't really train people anymore. But it's hard to even find his gym. So this is kind of a bonus session in that it expresses the difficulty in hunting for these legends in order to fill the library. But you can find little gems in that process. We film things that don't end up being used. But this is good for bonus material because Duuglas-Ittu actually was kind of incredible. This guy who's talking to me right here is a former Kamsing fighter, and he just wandered over from the chicken fights that were happening because it's Sunday afternoon and there's often in gyms chicken fighting that happens on the weekends and people get really into it. And he wandered over and he knows me. He's actually been my referee up in Chiang Mai probably for like 40 fights or something. And here he's telling me about a fight he remembers of mine where I knocked out this girl, Nong Poi, who I did not know this, but that was his promotion and that's his fighter. And he was remembering it fondly, which is kind of nice. But so he knows me as a fighter pretty closely, having been my referee many, many times. But I've been away from Chiang Mai for 3 years now, so I've changed a lot as a fighter. But what was really cool is he got really excited about my training and came over and kind of helped. And his Muay Thai is beautiful, so it was really cool to have this completely chaotic, completely unusable for the legend library training session, but to have these two guys be so excited and working on these techniques together in this gym community. This is like the Kai Muay community. You can see all these guys hanging out at this table. They're just hanging out on a Sunday. There's no training. Like, they're just at the gym hanging out with Duuglas-Ittu, and then they were interested in what the hell I am, so they came to watch. Duuglas-Ittu is enormous. My size makes him look even bigger, but he's just a big dude in general. And he's Muay Thai, which is very technical and evasive. He actually has really amazing boxing. But so when I told him that I'm Muay Khao, he was a little bit nervous, like, I don't know what I can teach you, I'm not Muay Khao at all. And I was like, just teach me your style. And so he and Dot, the other guy, the referee, kind of worked together in adding femur elements to the things that I was already doing. And it actually became this kind of impromptu, let's just figure this out as we go, given our crazy size disparity and difference in style. But he showed me a lot of things, and I really like his style. So here he's telling me what a lot of femur teachers will tell you, which is to fake a lot. So he's saying jab ma, teep ma, which is like jab and teep. But he wants me to then fake the teep. And his fake on his teep is something I've never ever seen before. It submarines, like it starts really low and does this little hook up. It looks nothing like what a teep would look like if you were actually throwing it. But somehow, because it comes up from below like that, it gets your attention. Like, you will definitely get someone focused on your foot and your leg, even if they're not sure that it's supposed to be a teep. But it's also kind of cool because in the way that he like hooks it up, you can leg hook like that. And you'll see these like older trainers who, when you're trying to block or something and your leg's up in the air, they'll hook your leg. And that's kind of how they do it. So now he's telling me to do bouncing of the foot and then fake the teep and throw a knee. So he's just kind of adding what you're doing after the fake. But he'll tell me throughout this entire session that he wants this yok, which is like your rhythm or your sway. You'll see even as he's holding the pads, when he resets himself, he does this little sway with his shoulders that shows his relaxation. So here he wants me to block his entrance. So my knee is up so that he can't knee or kick, and then my upper body is catching his upper body. but he wants the leg to come down, and then you knee with the other side. So basically you put the foot down and can knee on the other side, and then turn that knee into a block and just keep doing this, alternating sides. So you block, down and knee, and then block, down, knee, and then block. And then he wants me to be controlling his arms at the same side, because obviously if you don't, you're close enough for elbows there, or to be shoved off. He is an enormous man to be a female fighter. He must have been so scary. So here, I'm my arms are in an okay position because I'm at the insides of his elbows, but I'm doing this obnoxious thing that I do where I very gingerly touch my trainers, I don't want to actually put any strength or pressure on them. So that affects your actual technique, and I'm a little bit off balance. Plus his arms are condor width, so it's hard for me to control both sides because he's so long. This is that referee getting excited about me again. He's telling this guy that I've fought more than 100 times. So because of his height, it's hard for me to keep the correct distance that I need. I keep trying to be too long because he's so long, but that's totally the opposite of what you should do. If someone is super long, you really want to get closer. But here he was just having me do the teep to put him at the distance that I want, and now he's having me use the teep somewhat defensively, he's coming in. But so you use that teep that we were just working on to move him back, and eventually he's going to not go backwards anymore, and he's going to want to come forward. That's when you fake the teep and knee. So you don't do a fake teep and knee when chasing someone, you do it when they start to come back towards you. There, he's explaining that. He's like, I'm not going to go back forever. You wait for when I try to come in, try to resist your teep or bounce off the ropes or whatever. You'll get these incredible sounds off of different trainers that are their affirmations. I like Crew Ots. It's ugh. That's his, that's the correct one. So the referee is talking to me again about this fight when I fought his fighter up in Chiang Rai many years ago. So here he's trying to build that rhythm of going forward with your kicks and then using a teep to off balance or to put someone at the right distance, or in this case to interrupt his kickback. Something that both Crew Ot and the referee Dot talked to me about was using your weapons to control distance as you're coming in. As a knee fighter, I have to turn, which means to walk. I have to come forward. But they want me to do it in a more female style by using these small weapons to put him either off balance or to move him where I need him, so that it looks like I'm controlling the space instead of just robo-copping forward. Here he's telling me to get my knees up higher on my blocks as I'm coming in. He's like, when you turn, when you walk, block as you come in. And he wanted it up high so that it's evident what I'm doing, I think. So if I bring them up high and he keeps going backwards, it looks like he's responding to me, like he's afraid of me. Whereas if I'm just kind of tapping up a little bit on my way in, he's going backwards, it might look more like he's drawing me in. Here, he started throwing in some tricks, but he doesn't do them as tricks. He shows how to set them up and the situations in which he would use them, So here, this is that block that he showed me before, where you put your knee up across so that he can't knee or kick, and I catch his upper body. Then, as his weight moves back, or he moves into me, I drop off of it, step across him, and throw that backwards elbow. And you want your foot to land right by his foot. You need to be really close, and your body is basically going to touch your opponent's body as well when that elbow comes up. You can't keep your distance on that elbow. You got to be really close.
His fake is so different.
It's good though.
As the referee talking to me again, he was very excited and wanted to show me technique on the bag afterwards that we didn't end up doing. But it's very cool. These guys both come from the Somrak camp. Somrak is a very technical fighter. He's the one who throws like spinning elbows and upward elbows and all of these things in fights. So for them to want to work on this technique in the context of how you actually use it is the spirit of this gym. Like, this is Somrak's kind of legacy. And something that Crew Ott talked to me about a couple of times is about the ability to move forward and backwards. Like, you cannot be an only frontward fighting fighter. You have to be able to have comfort and weapons as you're moving backwards, which is very Thai in general. Like, Thai style, there's a lot of moving backwards. But here he's showing me the measured way in which you do it. He does this stepping backwards cross that I've definitely never tried before. I was so confused when he first showed me. But he literally said, it's the same as when you come forward. You just do it going backwards.
Backwards Superman.
It does not feel the same. But what I figured out, without realizing that I'd figured it out, is that the timing of when the foot goes back versus when you're punching is not identical to each other. You actually punch first. I didn't know that, but I started getting it down, so it's a little bit like a Superman.
It's good.
Oh, look at how he does it. He's saying you do this against punchers. He's like, punchers only know how to go forward. So if you know how to punch going backwards, you have the advantage there.
His leg goes last. He goes
So
up
Kevin
in the
could
air.
see that the hand was coming first and the leg was going second. I don't think that Crew Ott knows. Like, he doesn't think about it. He just does it. Look at his rhythm. When your trainer does that, imitate it. Steal it. He's like, people don't know how to go backwards and punch. So if you know how to go backwards and punch, you win.
It's beautiful.
Muay mat, that's someone who's a puncher. He's like, if they have to go backwards, you've taken away all their weapons because they don't know how to punch going backwards. Ugh, he can do it. Jeez. I wouldn't chase after that. I'd be like, go for it, man. I'll stay here. He says it's from your legs. It's totally from your legs. The reason I'm confused is I'm trying to punch going backwards thinking about my arms, but it's your legs. See how that worked? That's because I'm using my legs now without thinking about it. So he wants me to punch going backwards and then pivot off. So you punch as they're chasing you, and then you pivot into their blind spot, and then you can land something like a kick or an elbow or something really hard. He's like, still go backwards. It's a beautiful little drill. It's totally like teaching footwork. And then he wants me to add in the teep again as the defense to off balance him and give myself more time and distance. He says block tight, and what he means is like not just sticking my leg out to the side like I just did. So he's showing me that when you cross block, because your standing leg is on the same side as the kick, you kind of lose your balance, like he's knocking me off balance. So when he kicks on that side, he wants me to block on that same side, because then my standing leg is like creating the kickstand for more balance. There, he's showing that he thinks that that's going to knock you off balance. He said right there, if it's right hand against right hand, don't worry about it. But because he's southpaw, you don't cross block like that. Which is interesting. Because he's a southpaw fighter, I think that he's thought more about this kind of thing, about when you match up versus left side or right side. So here, he's teaching me again how to go backwards with the jab. Not what I just did. But basically, you do this little rock back, anticipating their counter, and then you just jab straight again. See how he takes that step to get out of the way, but then he's ready to fire back that jab again? This is something Master K taught me years and years and years ago. So he's saying do one, and then get out of the way on the second one. Third one, and then kick. So it's the same thing he was doing with the walking back punches, is you basically allow yourself to go back while punching a couple of times, and then you move into that blind spot. He's saying legs, legs, legs. It's footwork. Interestingly, when I was focusing on this one, I did that moving to the side better than when he told me to just move to the side. So by thinking about pivoting to the side, I messed up my footwork. Whereas just doing it to get out of the way, it was more intuitive. So he equates being a female fighter with being able to fight backwards. He sees them as being definitive of each other. So he's like, how do you lock? And I'm like, you're a giant. And I can't even reach your neck. So I tried to do a little bit of like jerking on his neck to kind of make it easier, so I wasn't just using all my strength to yank him down. But he could feel already that I was using too much strength, even for that. By moving your leg in order to get that knee in, you use far less energy. So there he's like, don't use your energy. He says, "Sielang," which is like a misuse of your energy. He's like, just hold, like get a good lock, and then use your footwork to move them rather than your upper body. So he's like, break the neck and use your shoulders. This, I think, is a huge secret of the clinch that I'm just starting to get into. I really don't have enough of the technique yet, but using your shoulders in clinching is like the next frontier for me. Using the head was a big advancement for me, and here he's telling me to use the head as well. But the shoulders is the thing. You use it both to block and to have better leverage. See how he's using his shoulder to break my neck, is how he said it? So it doesn't use your energy. It was really hard with our size difference for me to do what I normally do. I think his leg weighs what I weigh. But look at how he's using his shoulder to block. You can learn this at any gym. Like, any trainer will be able to show this to you. But he has kind of a boxer's element in how he's doing this. So he wants me to interrupt his grab with my shoulders and then control his arms immediately. And then again, it's the footwork is doing all of the work for you. That's where the power comes from, rather than your upper body.
power กระดูกมวยมีทุกอย่างนะสมองเดียว
So he's basically saying, don't use up all your power if you don't have to. Like, use power when you have to use strength. This is the referee showing me how to use the hop in to cover all that distance, which is something that I actually do. And I don't know if he knows that I do that. But it's beautiful when he does it. You can see how protected he is. So here's something that Karahat works a lot on, which is that people will put their arms out and in your face as like an interruption, and you use their tension against them. So I block his hand at first, and then I kind of just parry it out of the way and attack over it. And then he wants me to add the leg kick after the elbow. I forgot the elbow there. He's like, do both. So elbow and then the leg kick, because I'm in his blind spot. He said I hurt his leg. It's like kicking a tree. He's like punched already. So this is the IQ that they're talking about. The referee here is telling me that he wants me to keep a tighter guard while using my teep and all this stuff to cover distance on the way in. But both of them talk to me at great length about using these small weapons on your way in. You don't just walk. So all of this is closing distance. And then he wants me to do that fake teep again. That's so odd and kind of awesome. He's saying that your opponent is going to dokjai. That means like to shock. So when I put my foot out, they freeze. Like their body freezes, or they put their ass back in anticipation of the teep. This is cool. This is his footwork of how to kind of like bamf into a different position and attack from over there. So this is part of his rhythm. So he's like, if you're tight, everyone can see what you're doing. But if you keep your legs bent and move like this, he's basically teaching me how to fake with your legs and footwork. Like, look at how you can move in any direction by keeping your knees bent. Like this? You can't move anywhere. He's saying when you're jumping rope, this is when you practice it. See how he's moving around as if he's jumping rope and he's going forward and backwards? He's like, if you're going to jump rope for 20 minutes, use it to learn this. Don't just stay in one spot jumping rope. He's like, why just hang out for 20 minutes like this doing nothing? Move around. So there he's showing how if you keep your knees bent and you kind of have this idle of moving, you can move in any direction and it's kind of hidden by your movement already. So here he's showing that you don't always move off your point. You can just teep him and get him off of you also. So footwork, moving around, but also sometimes posting and teeping him. Here he's showing me where to teep. He's saying if you do it right on the waistband of the shorts or like just under, this is kind of like teeping someone's bladder. Oh, it's really painful, especially if you get your toes in on it. Power It from Sasaprapa Gym is the first person who ever told me about that. Here he's showing me how to control the arms so that someone can't elbow you. I'm saying I'm really short, so on my way in, I do this stupid 11 guard, and because people are so much taller than me, it's very easy for them to just kind of throw this upward elbow in. He's saying, yeah, that's why you don't come in like that. You have to throw the teeps and jabs in order to work your way in. If you, he says don, which means like to have something happen to you or to suffer something. He's like, if you come in like a toddler trying to get a hug, you're gonna get elbowed in the face. So teep and jab on your way in. So that's what all of this has been. This is how you learn, is by doing these small weapons on your way in. He's like, you have to think also. He's showing that tense marching in thing that Thais hate. He's like, you have to think about how you're going to do it. You have to use technique as you're walking in. So here they come back to this spinning back elbow. But he's basically showing me how to use it off of stopping someone from coming in. So this is what he showed me very early on, where you like post. I put my hand on his chest and my leg is up to block his kicks. But look at the referee Dot on the side. Look at how he steps across the body so that your elbow comes into the face of your opponent. That part is really important, not only because it's going to put the trajectory of your elbow in the correct spot, but if you don't step across, you don't step in, and you want to be really, really close to your opponent.
Come on, Sylvie.
So I wasn't pushing through hard enough. They wanted me to really be putting pressure on his body. One, because it knocks him backwards, but two, it's going to get him to resist me, and then it's double impact when I fake something and do that elbow, because he's either posting to resist me or he's coming after me, and it's that double impact. But so Dot is saying here how it's important to have rhythm of choosing when you're going to throw that elbow. Look how excited they both are, both talking to me at the same time. I love this. So he's like, throw the teep also, like basically off balance and put him backwards and get him to resist me, and then use that elbow. The setup is not one thing. The setup is like 4 or 5 things. And see, Crew Ot is telling me to get more over to the side so that I'm out of the way of his right knee. His right knee is going past me.
Closer, Sylvie.
And I'm basically landing right on the pillar of his body. That one was better. It came up. And so Dot there is saying you can do it on your way in as well. See how he's doing that hop in? But if you come in with your leg up with that hop in, when you land, you have to be sure to land across someone's body, and it still has to be in the rhythm of when to throw it. So see how he's hopping in, but then he's giving the gesture that it's when someone decides they're not going to go back anymore, or if they've hit the rope, that's when you throw the elbow, is when they're posting or when they're going to come back. So he wants better rhythm. I'm asking him whether I need to go up like a rainbow arc, and he's like, it doesn't matter. You can go straight back also and like hit them in the chest. He just wants the power on it. He goes, Nang ai, like it's easy. It's so easy. And so this is the setup. He's like jab, teep, jab, teep. See how relaxed he is? And he's just interrupting what I'm doing there. So that sound he's making, that like hoop, hoop, that's the like throw it now. Like you've done your setup, throw it now. That's his affirmation sound. Ooh, that's you did it correctly. Trainers have the best sounds. So he's saying to me there, he's like, even if you're Muay Khao, you can have a lot of Muay Femur in the way that you're fighting. So that's something that Crew Weehawk at Skarbowski's gym said as well. He's like, even if you're Muay Khao, you're only Muay Khao for like the 2 scoring rounds. The rest of the time you want to be Femur. That's so that you don't get injured, it's so you don't get tired, but it's also just because it makes it look like you're controlling everything. Goat is not a small dude, but look at how beautiful and light on his feet he is when he throws that fake. His technique is really beautiful. He grew up at this gym, even though he's from Chiang Rai up in the north. So here, Crew Ot is telling me to be more firm in my arms. See how my arms are kind of collapsing against his? I need to be having firm resistance against him so that he has firm resistance against me, and that's when you parry the arm. You use the other person's tension. I threw something off of that elbow. I did the elbow and then I spun all the way around and threw something else, and he's like, they're already KO'd, don't throw anything after that. So this is Somrak's signature elbow. If you don't yell Somrak when you throw this in training, you're doing it wrong. You have to reference it. But look at how excited they get. This is the energy you get when you have like a bunch of gamblers in your corner all telling you to do stuff. But they're very excited. And it's a beautiful elbow. You see it in later rounds when people are already winning and they can just mess around. But Dot is telling me, go ahead and just hit him right in the sternum. He's like, this takes the power out of them. He's like, why would you head for the face? The face is so tiny. Aim for the body, it's so much bigger. Hitting someone in the sternum with that would hurt. Oh, and then the other elbow on it. Look at his crouch. So pretty. But so I do this elbow badly. I try to make it too long. Like I stretch myself out and it's this kind of like lancing elbow. That's not how you do it. See how they land their elbow as that front leg is coming down? It's very punctual. It's at the end of the move rather than kind of stretching out off of it like that. So he's saying when you do that fake teep, they startle and stay in their spot or kind of like flinch backwards, and that's when you throw it. But look at him land and throw the jab and elbow on the landing of his front foot. My back foot drags because I'm trying to like do this long stabbing elbow. So he likes this setup. But you have to work your way in first rather than trying to reach from too far away. It's the same thing with a knee. Like you can make a knee go through somebody, but you don't want them to be at the very end of the extension of your hip. You want the extension of your hip to be going through them. That's the same thing with that elbow. You don't want to be reaching for someone. You want to basically be going through them with your extension. This is something that my southpaw trainers have worked with me on more than anyone else, which is on someone's left kick, you step around into their blind side and you can body hook the face, or throw an elbow. I don't do it well because I just post my front leg and kind of pivot around the peg leg, but you have to step towards the person's standing leg when they're kicking with their left side. See how I stepped near his foot? That's what you're supposed to do. Here, I'm not gaining any ground because I'm basically leaving my front foot where it is and pivoting, or I'm not stepping forward with it. But you want to get in the blind spot, but stay really, really close to be able to land those things. It's the same as Yod Kunpan, the elbow hunter. It's the same as his front elbow. You have to step outside of his standing leg when that left leg is coming up. See how I'm like bouncing off of him? That's because I'm not stepping there. I stepped towards his foot. There, I didn't. It's very inconsistent. Basically track their standing leg with your front leg. So he's saying when you're tracking people down, you use all of these things to look like you're controlling everything, and you have the ability to throw these kind of fancy things when someone's tired and going on their back foot and they don't have great ability to fight backwards because they're tired for whatever reason. this is when you go throw these things on your way in.
เนี่ยต่อยกับซีเวียแก้ทางซีเวียก่อนเห็นซีเวียเดินเข้ามาบอกให้ปล่อย
He's like, I've watched you many times when you're fighting and you just come forward. If you're just marching forward and blocking or not blocking, you're just getting hit by things. So he's saying when you come in with this kind of control, you can tag people on your way in and it looks like you're controlling all of the movement rather than being tight and like a tank.
คุณต่อยมวยมาเป็นร้อยแล้วต้องเก๋า
So see how he's staying close, but he's able to throw all of these different things? Oh.
มีหลากหลายมีแบบปุ๊บขึ้นข้างบนมีบนเตะหน้ามีบนที
So I've been on the receiving end in sparring with my trainers of that kind of thing. When someone is just like bee stinging you with all of these weapons, they're not light, but they're not like power blasts. They interrupt everything you're trying to do, and you kind of end up standing still or stumbling backwards. But see how he's showing how you block the first time or the second time, and then you start throwing your things as a counter? That's exactly what Berkler talks about as well.
หลอกคน
He's like, okay, first time block, second time attack.
ต่อยคนต่อยท้องแก้คนสาขาแก้คนข้าวแพ้เลย
See how close he stays? He doesn't give any ground. And the impetus is on me to try to keep coming in, or I have to go backwards. And then it looks like he made me go backwards.
ไปตลอดโดนหน้า
Look at his jab and how long it is. It's like Chart Chai's jab, how his hip kind of comes forward and his knee is turned. See how the front side of his body is all one line?
จังหวะปุ๊บ
Ooh, so long.
ปุ๊บปุ๊บ
So this is what he was showing me before with the jab, how it's like jab, move, jab. And then he's saying you can throw teep or block or whatever right off of it. It's basically using all of these weapons to, I'm going to use the word tap, but they're not light. You're basically constantly tagging your opponent to keep them where they are or move them off their spot.
เดี๋ยวไปมีแต่เข่าอย่างเดียว
So he's saying if you're Muay Khao, don't do just one thing. Like don't just walk in and grab. When you grab, be strong. That's great. But you lead up to it.